Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And I had two ideas on how to open this up. And I suppose if we were professional, Mike, I would have talked to you about this before we started. But you know,
but clearly we're not.
No, that's not what we do. So, first way I was thinking about, you tell me, we'll pick two and see what you guys like. Okay, so we're gonna breeze through this episode like a hurricane. Okay, anyone?
Nope, that didn't work. Next.
Okay, simple. This episode is going to be a breeze.
That's a little better.
So anyhow, sorry, Breeze. That was a dad joke right off the fact. This is what happens when you agree to hang out with a couple of old guys on a Friday night. But anyhow, like well, good. And we appreciate having you back. And everyone, yes, we have Breeze again this week. She was on with us back in episode 83, so a little while ago. But the first thing I want to say, and I want to thank you again openly to everyone, when people listen, and when you guys listen tonight, at the end of the episode, as soon as we say goodbye, just listen to the end, the little musical thing going on. This is the person that did that for us. And Mike, you call it what?
The fuck off remix.
It's the coolest thing in the world. And the way it came up, we were closing out on the last episode. And I don't know, one of us said, I think one of you guys said that, it'd be great to have that, put some music behind it. And then Mike's like, okay, everyone be quiet. Shut up.
Yeah.
And then he did it. And then we got it to you and you did a really nice job. I listen to it. I listen to our episodes all the time, but I listen to that every single time because I love it. It's great. So once again, thank you. We truly appreciate it.
Oh, but, no, of course.
Yeah, but you're here for other reasons. So again, obviously we talked to you a while ago, but I know that you've been doing some different things and we'll get into all that. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a chance to re-listen to that episode from when we had you on before. So I don't remember how much we get into your story or not, but I guess worst case scenario, what do you think, Mike? At least have her remind everyone who she is, sobriety date, kind of a little bit of where she came from. Sound good?
Remind me.
Yeah, right. I was like, wait, yeah, what did we talk about? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't either. But and just if you want, just go into a brief little thing. Again, a little bit of your background and how you got to where you are, and then we can get into what you're doing and all that stuff. I'm sure we got plenty of stuff to talk about. So
yeah, it's suddenly coming back to me because every time, I probably said this last time, every time I get asked that question, it's like my whole mind is like, wait, what's my name? Where am I from? What do I do? Oh, so yeah, but my name is Breeze. I'm from Australia. I am a musician, an artist. I'm now like dabbling in the music business, so I help artists with their career strategy and branding and kind of help them organize their life and what they want to do. And I kind of help them achieve their goals and what their mission is, why they do music and how to monetize it, how to be a business person, all that sort of stuff, which is a lot of fun. And my sobriety date is May 22nd or 23rd. Oh, geez.
Come on now.
I know
That's
it's
the important one.
Yeah.
No, it's the 23rd in 2022. That's why I get them
Nice.
confused. Yep, there we go.
So the 23-22 thing messes you
Yeah,
up. Okay, no, I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
there we go. Switches around. That's just like my brain, and also the end of a long week on a Friday night.
You're
Yeah,
not alone there.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, so many times. Well, every time, right, Mike? We get on here, and both of us have had not bad weeks or anything like that. But again, long weeks. You're working all week, and then you got to come on here and then kind of be on again. And it's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What do you what do I have to do?
Right.
But yeah, we always feel better. This is kind of like a meeting for us, so we always feel better when we're done. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, if your brain goes a little dead, throughout here, it's normal. You're
Yes.
in the right crowd.
Yeah, just like a warning to everybody listening. My brain is dead, so we're just powering through.
So, and I had texted you earlier because I know we were talking about the timing and stuff like that. And I knew I put Eastern, but I couldn't remember. You're still in Nashville, right?
Yes, I'm in Nashville. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's 7:07 right now.
Right. Yeah. Same time. And that's why I told her. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be Central, whatever. Because the last thing in the world, I'm like, we always do Eastern just because it's easier. Just put it at Eastern time. It doesn't matter where people are. Plus, Mike, I want to make Mike feel better. He wants to what he calls
It's real time. It is real time. What time is it in Manhattan? It's real fucking time. What time is it in DC? It's real fucking time. Thank you.
Yeah. And I was just going to ask him to explain it, but that's his explanation that in two of the biggest places in the country, obviously New York and DC, that's where the time is, so everything works from there. I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with it. So
well,
so
in Australia right now.
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow 9:37 a.m.
Right. I spent a couple summers in Japan, so I mean, kind of the same thing.
That's right. That's right. They're on the same time clock, which is wild.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So, a couple of quick questions with that. I know you said 22 when you got sober. So, did you get sober here in the U.S. or in Australia? Or okay, you did. Okay,
yeah.
And that's the part I couldn't remember. But I guess as a brief little thing, how long? When did you come to the U.S. and how? I'm curious. I don't think I've ever asked anyone how the drinking culture is in Australia. Do you see any differences there versus here? Or
Mike,
dude, you spent enough time in Wisconsin, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I've listened to and talked to people who've been there. I guess really never got in the conversation. I know certain areas are this way, certain areas are that way. We as alcoholics and addicts stand out more in different places. I just didn't know. So I'd just be curious. That's all.
Well, I guess when I let my family know I'm sober, I was met with like, what?
Right.
So I don't know if that really explains anything.
Okay.
It does.
So you're not breathing air anymore? What do you mean?
Yeah, like what are you talking about? Drinking problem? Like, yeah. So I think it's definitely a very big or a heavy drinking culture. I would say most people there are like high functioning alcoholics.
Right.
But yeah, I think what helped me get sober, I did this nosedive into sobriety. That's how I kind of explain it, is because I moved over here 3 years ago, and it was just like a lot of changes all at once, and I was able to kind of understand this a little bit more upon like reflection, like how like hindsight's 2020, but just the like change of environment. The cultural changes aren't too much, but just enough. There was like the visa status thing. Like my visa was put on hold for a year, so I couldn't even work for that whole year that I was here. So it was just like a lot of these stresses I brought over a lot of baggage, so you can't really ever run away from things. Like they follow you around.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
Yeah, and I think like just the heat was turned up in terms of stress and I had this like a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. So I think I would say my drinking got worse because of that. I think it was able to sort of be this thing that I had in my life, but I didn't exactly know it was a unhealthy habit, if that makes sense. So,
Sure.
so
Complete.
all that had to happen was the timing, the enough stress, enough pressure, and then, you know, certain situations where I just didn't have very good healthy coping skills. So all of that just kind of put it in a nice situation to where it's like, now you have a drinking problem and now you're getting worse, and now it's like, you know how it is with alcohol, like it's really a very toxic poison, and it just poisons everything. Like, you give it enough time, it will literally ruin and destroy every life that, you know, is involved with you. So I think for me, it was just a nosedive into sobriety, which really fits my personality. I'm very like all or nothing, so I think like there was no other way for me to do it. Yeah. So I think I was here just over a year, and then then I got sober, which it was so crazy because it was like I find that, as I mean, I'm sure with anybody that experiences it, is a very pivotal moment, but in so many more ways than we think. Like, even now, it's been over. I think I'm approaching like a 2.5 years. I think I've actually gone over the 6-month mark. There's just so many other things I'm beginning to understand about myself that was like definitely hidden, and is you know, coming out, because I'm able to, you know, allow that space to, one, learn a lot of healthy coping skills, but to just really learn that I can manage my environments. But number one thing is I can manage myself a lot better. And
Right.
and kind of the curriculum that we all go through. I know everyone's journey is different, but in terms of the principles that we come across, like I feel like I've arrived at that like no expectations lesson, which which I feel like it's a really wonderful experience in terms of it's not all at once, even though at the beginning it does feel very intense. But arriving at the lesson of no expectations and just really learning to set high expectations, but understanding I'm really the only one at the end of the day that I can control. And
Right.
not that it's like I didn't understand that, but I feel like I'm understanding that in more tangible ways, in terms of it's easier to just let go of the other person,
Right.
or whatever
Exactly.
they're trying to do. Yeah, it's kind of like easier for me to like kind of leave it there and being like, okay, I'm gonna leave you where you are, you know,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
if it's a
Well,
little
I
bit
mean,
yeah.
we for a very long time we thought we actually could control other people.
Yes. Yeah. It's
I know I did.
Right.
yeah. And it's so funny because all of this is so subtle. It's only when you actually just, you know, are sober minded, like, you
Right,
know,
exactly.
you
When you can actually
actually
think.
yeah, you can actually have clarity, and you can observe things and kind of allow space to think about things a little bit further than, oh, I'm pissed off at that person, or just very reactional things. Because I think even good things can be reactional, you know, but
Right.
just understanding that a little more deeply. So I'm definitely, I wouldn't say enjoying the no expectations thing, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of value in yeah. So
Well, it's really hard, and we talk about that on here all the time. You know, there's the saying that says, you know, expectations are just resentments, you know, waiting to happen. Which
yeah.
I get that, but I mean, a part of it's like, okay, it's I don't want to say impossible. It's difficult not to have expectations, but you
Mhm.
have to have. I think you just said it probably as clearly as it is can be, that you are the only one. You've got to understand that you're the only one that you can you know, manage that expectation of yourself, not necessarily anyone else. So any one of us can go out into the world on a
Mhm.
daily basis, as we do, and say, oh, people are going to drive, nicely, right, Mike? Or people are not going to be dickheads on the
Mm-hmm.
phone, right, Bill? Because I'm on the phone all day. This isn't going to happen to me at the grocery store. This isn't going to happen to me from a friend. But when it does, you want to throw a big book at them and say, listen, read the first 164 pages. You're not a fucking alcoholic, but you might be able to learn something and then come
Oh
back and
yeah.
treat me right,
Yeah.
which again, that's an expectation. We can't expect, well, we can't even expect that people, that are in the rooms or that are
Mm.
sober are going to act the way that we want.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, and it's not necessarily enjoying not having it. I agree with that. And the cool part, though, is that we have, and I know Mike and I, so I'm going to say it on here, we've uncovered some things that either one or both of us had no idea of, whatever the thing might be. And this has been over the 2.5 years that we've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you figure, we were like 12-ish years sober when we started. We're 14 and a half now. And between that 12 and that 14 years, I've had these light bulb moments to go, holy shit, back then that's what this meant. Or Mike brings that up and he's like, do you remember this? I'm like, I don't have a fucking memory of that whatsoever. I don't even, I remember people saying that. Or he reads something. We do a reading usually every episode when it's just us. And these are books we've been reading for, 12, 13, 14 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't even remember reading that this morning, let alone what it said 5 years ago. But it's so cool. And the main thing that we talk about is the fact that we need to be reminded every once in a while. Well, a lot of times around here, we're like, well, we've talked about this before, but because all of us, I think, need to hear this stuff over and over again, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think it's just normalizing that. Like I know I have to be wary of it because I don't enjoy repeating myself.
Mm-hmm.
But there is sometimes a value in being able to repeat yourself or read over things that you may already know instead of like just being like, I already know that. It's like
Mm.
having that curiosity that you can still learn from something. And I think that's why, reflection is good, or um, practicing patience if someone's like maybe not understanding what you're saying and you have to keep,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
repeating yourself. Or and I think it's just like, we weren't exactly taught this. I mean, at least I wasn't taught all of this growing up, but there
Right.
is an element of like, whether you're sober or not sober, there is an element where you like arrive at some point in your life where you're like, okay, I have to be the one in charge now.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Right.
have to be the one who's responsible and all of
Mm.
that. So it's just kind of like
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I go through it all the time now. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
why am I the responsible one in this situation? How the fuck did this happen?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been the irresponsible one my entire life.
Yep.
Why am I all of a sudden I mean, my girlfriend says it to me all the time. No, you're the responsible one. You're the one that I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? But in a
Yeah.
way, it's kind of cool because I mean, all right, I guess I'm the grown up now. I never wanted to be, but okay, I guess I am.
Yeah. 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 And I think it's good to keep that, like playfulness too.
Mhm.
Because,
Right.
it's like life has to be fun too. Like it just
Oh,
can't be
yeah.
always even when I'm trying to be intentional with that of like, even if things are really hard, like I want to find something I can laugh at, even if it's like I
Mhm.
force myself to laugh at a situation. Or I think it's just like there's something in that can be very like help with the healing, but also kind of take the blow off a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that, Mike, with the growing up thing, and it's the, being in a situation where, I don't know, that we can now be available for people where we weren't,
100%.
for years. And
Mhm.
those are the things that are cool. And I've mentioned this before, but I mean, getting, it's usually something that's with my kids, all positive shit. One of them will say, and I have adult children, probably older than you, Breeze. Well, I
Mhm.
think my son might be younger than you, but, my daughter will say something, just something like really nice, and I'm like, God damn, I mean, all I had to do was, take a couple of steps and read some books and try to be a good human being, and this is what I get. Or, my son will call me to need something, or somebody asks for advice, and the same thing as Mike says, I'm like, I have to sit there for a minute in my head, and I'm like, why the fuck are you asking me for advice? I mean, really, I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground half the time to this day, but somehow somebody's coming to me, like Mike said, okay, I guess I'm the grown up now, and I'm not saying that people come to me for all this worldly advice, but each one of us, I think, number one, has worth. We've talked about that, but on top of that, each one of us have these individual life lessons and life circumstances. There's a ton of things that Mike has done in his life that I haven't, that I've learned from. And like Mike made a joke when I moved back to Wisconsin. I think you called me a couple of times, Mike, didn't you? Because you couldn't figure out something with the internet.
Yeah, right.
He's like, yeah. He goes, my fucking computer guy moved away.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Mike is not illiterate when it comes to computers. I've just learned more about them for whatever reason. It's a little bit of a skill set that I have. But when you really meet somebody who knows some shit about computers, it's kind of like when you meet somebody who's really got some true deep down heartfelt wisdom about sobriety. You're like, holy shit, man, that's kind of cool, But these are the people that we can be, but we also have to look for others and learn from them, which is it's a weird thing, because I never used to look for either one. I didn't want to be the expert. I didn't want to be bothered, and I sure as hell didn't want to go ask somebody for help ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm like Italian, so it's like we're always right and we have an opinion about everything. So I had to almost like unlearn that.
We've got a couple of Italian friends, right, Mike?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Frankie. Where's Frankie? Where's Frankie when you need him? He's one of our buddies in Ohio. He's a good dude.
Yeah. And then they'll always like be like, yeah, but what do I know at the end, like a disclaimer, just in case you do take on the advice and it's terrible.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know nothing. So yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah, do all these things, but yeah, what do I know? So yeah, somebody fucks up their life, it's not your fault, right?
Exactly.
So when you came to the United States, did you have family here, or do you have family here, or you just came over figuring I want to do this thing, or what?
I have I don't even know what it's my grandpa's brother, so I'm not sure like what you call
great uncle.
Yeah, a great uncle, which I've met once. But I have like a lot of family history here. So on my mom's side, her mom was born in Pennsylvania, and her parents actually immigrated from Hungary. And then my grandpa, he was born in Rome and then moved to England and then moved to America. And then then met my mom's mom. And then they lived here for probably like 35 years or something like that. And all my uncles were born in New York. Okay. But my mum was born in Melbourne, Australia. And she was like, but I'm fairly certain I was conceived in New York 100%. Like I've done the math. So yeah, so my mum's a dual citizen. I think we would have had to live here for like 7 years or something like that for, me, so I could go for citizenship. Right. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's just kind of like, why wouldn't you just allow someone to apply? Because it wasn't like my grandparents were like here for 5 years and then just, left. Right. It's like they literally like had a life here, raised a family here. And so whereas like, it's funny because then on the Italian side, it's like, as long as someone in your family has a citizenship, you can just go get your citizenship. Like, it's like that easy. So all that to say, it would have been so helpful if we did live here for like 5 years when I was younger. So I can be like, I could have applied for citizenship, but it's all good. There's a process for everything. Right. So yeah, I have like a lot of family history here. And also it's just, there's a lot more to do here than Australia in terms of like the music industry and the entertainment industry. It's not as like, I mean, it's gatekeepy, but not as much. Like there's enough to where you can be like a blue collar musician and live quite comfortably. You don't have to like shoot for the stars to be able to eat. So that was what was, I think I also never really felt like Australia was my home. It was really it was really weird. I never felt like grounded there, but I remember we went to California. I was like 13 or something like that, and I remember feeling like really grounded, and it was just like a very interesting feeling. And I think in my mind, like, I'm gonna move here one day. I think I just knew that. Like, it's like I felt more at home, even like coming to Nashville, which wasn't ever really on my radar. It was just kind of like an opportunity presented itself, and I was like, yeah, like, let's do it. Just even being in a city I'd never seen before, only heard of, like, I felt more at home. So I think, yeah, it's just interesting. I think sometimes, like, where you're born isn't exactly your home. I think it's we're meant to be. I mean, my whole family is just like, they're pioneers. Like, we're always like moving around and building things and then moving off to the next thing. And like, so I think it's just also in my blood to go somewhere unknown and build something, create something, and then move on to the next. So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of cool. So when you came out here, though, you were in a band or found a band when you came to Nashville, or how did that part happen?
So yeah, I've been touring since I was like 12 years old. Just in that world of like, write a bunch of songs, release them, go tour them. Once you finish the circuit, get back in the studio, release. Like, I was just in that world. And so the group I was in with my brother, Firebird, we'd been probably about 5 or 6 years by the time we moved to Nashville. And like, we already had plans the whole time, like, we're going to come to the States and just keep doing it. And I think what interrupted that was I sobered up. and you know, like, I can kind of lead all the roads to sobering up, is where I think it's not that I like lost passion for it. I think I just so much about me changed. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I think I started realizing there was so much more to me. And, you know, when I was presented the opportunity to like kind of go on a hiatus, and had that opportunity of like, I could easily go drum for other people. It wasn't like there was a shortage of people that were like, as soon as they were like, oh, you're not, you know, doing Firebird full time, like, come drum for me. Like, that was like, I had a lot of opportunity, but I just didn't feel like drawn to it. And I think I just allowed myself to kind of be like, well, what else can I do? I've been doing this since I was 12. Like, I'm 32 now. So it's like, that's a very long time of just doing the same thing. And then that's how I kind of started understanding there's so much more to me than just that. And it was almost like it was a turn off to think about drumming and writing music. And it was really weird. I just kind of had this, like, I pulled way back from it to where it's like, someone asked me to go on tour with them, and I was so conflicted because I was like, you know, it's good money and I'm turning down the pay, but I just really don't feel like I should do it. And I remember telling them, I can't do it. You know, I won't be able to give my best. And I remember just like getting off that phone call and just crying my eyes out. Like, it was just so weird. Like, I was just like, what is happening to me? It's like, you know, it's like it was like PMS, but like on steroids. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, this feeling was so weird. And I think I understand it now as just, you know, an acceptance, right? Of like, an era is kind of was closing up, and I was grieving, you know, a part of me that I'll always appreciate. And it's not like it was bad or wrong, or it's just like at this very present moment where I am at now, that's not what I focus on. And I'm in a much better headspace now to where it's like I can understand it so much more. But going through it, it was just like I was feeling so knocked around. Like it felt like I was getting sober again. Like that's what it felt like. I was like, oh my gosh, but what I'm doing now just makes so much sense. Like it just everything about my personality, the way my brain works, just everything about me makes so much sense in what I'm doing now. And I was feeling like towards the end of having that, labeling myself as an artist, I was feeling like quite restricted. And it actually wasn't until recently where I could finally articulate that and being like, it actually feels like whenever someone says, you should be a drummer, like, why aren't you doing that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like they're telling me, like, go back in the cage. That's what it feels like.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember like unpacking it with my brother, and he was like, why don't you want to sit behind the kit? And I'm like, I just don't think I'm meant to be doing that now. Right. And he's like, that's okay. I'm like, thanks. Like, yeah, it is okay. So yeah, fuck anyone that keeps asking me to fucking drum. Like, stop asking me.
Well, the thing of it is, and we joke about it all the time about, what will we do when we get sober? Or, when people say, what am I going to do when I get sober? And the answer is whatever the fuck you want to do,
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't even think, I know for a fact that the person I was prior to getting sober, when I kind of look back at it, I can see glimpses of that person and understand, and kind of be able to pull back and say, okay, I can see me in there, but it's such a small part, Maybe my personality is the same, maybe I have the same smart assness and humor or whatever it is, but I don't act or react the same way. I don't have the same wants or needs. I can get by on less. I can appreciate more. And I do appreciate more, But the other thing too is that, to like what you said is, having that feeling of this is not, I don't know why, but this is not what I want to do or need to do right now. And that's a cool thing, because I've had that happen. And we talked about it on here. It's like trying to force things,
Yeah.
whatever it is, down to the first story I've ever told about it was trying to buy a new cell phone versus, do I want to be in this relationship? Do I want to make this decision about this? Whatever the thing is, big or small, we get this, I don't know, this feeling, which is unexplainable, but something inside of us now that opened up, with this whole sobriety thing, I believe, that allows us to have a lot of feelings, but allows us to have this, I don't want to say sixth sense. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but that's the only way I could explain it. This extra additive that says, okay, this doesn't feel right. I don't know why, but I'm going to go right. I feel like going left, or everyone's telling me to go left, but I feel like going right, and I'm going to do it. Whatever the fuck happens, I'm doing that.
And it makes the least sense. Like, and it's not logical, And
Right.
and I think this is why I was like, I'm the no expectations lesson. I think I had a lot of these expectations of, you've been doing this your whole life. Like, if you stop doing it, like, does that mean, it's kind of like I had this expectation I had to do this till the end of time. And,
right.
And it was something that it was like, I was so all in on it. Like, I dedicated a lot of my life and my childhood to touring and being a musician and doing the damn thing, and did it now seem like that was all wasteful? But I didn't. I think I felt so strong about it that whenever that comment did come up, I just shut it down straight away, being like, no, actually, I can understand an artist in a way that no one else can, unless they've said they've toured for 20 years being an artist. Like, those are skills that aren't just, you can't just like go to college for 2 years and pick up those skills. Like, these are like specialized things that only take time. And so it's just understanding that, and that in a weird way allowed me to be a lot more confident and a lot more accepting of like these parts of myself that I think for a long time I was like battling with, like, that I'm a very like I said, all in or all out kind of person, and it's and what I'm doing now makes so much sense. It's just I'm learning it how to do it in, I guess, healthy ways,
Right. No, it's very much like being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Right.
I knew that would be a good skill.
Absolutely. Right. And now we take it and we use it and we help other people to, not be active alcoholics, but how to be sober alcoholics. Yes. Yeah. So all that stuff we did, again, we talk about all the time on here. It's all that stuff that we did in the past that maybe we think, oh, that was a waste of time or whatever. It wasn't. Even if we're not applying it in our lives now, we have those skills that we got for whatever, hustling on the street, that work ethic of being a drug addict, that was fucking hard work, man. And I hustled my ass all the time, and I transfer that over into my job now, just in healthy ways. Exactly. That's just what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think about that with, because Nashville has a lot of that going on. And,
sure.
And I'm like, man, it's sad to see, but it's also like, man, the fucking dedication these people have. Like, they are dedicated, and they have no fear of rejection either, which is like, that is a really great skill to have, But yeah, I even think about like, the people in the music industry that are just terrible people and they're greedy, and it's like, if you actually just put that energy to actually wanting to see people win, like you could still end up with the same result. That's just like but you're just in your own way, which is their prerogative. That's their thing.
Absolutely. And back to the acceptance. And can't control anybody but yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
It doesn't mean I can't flick them the finger every now and then.
Oh, absolutely. I've got 2 of them. I use them all the time.
So real quick, and obviously I'm very interested. I think we both are, of hearing all the stuff that you're up to now, and I mean, we follow you on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. Obviously Mike is not really on there all that much, if any, anymore, right, Mike? But
nope.
but so I have a rough idea. So we'll talk about it. But the question I had, and so 2.5 years in, what is? I'm sure you have some sort of a daily routine for and I ask people this all the time because I'm curious, different people, different age groups, different backgrounds, lifestyles, whatever the case is. I'm always curious to see what's your day to day. And you don't have to get really detailed, but from when you get up to when you go to bed, what do you do outside of all the other stuff for your sobriety, or how do you handle that or structure your day?
For my sobriety. Or I pray a lot. I think it's like I try and like when I pray, it's mainly just a conversation. So if I'm ever feeling a certain type of way, I try and I get in the habit of just surrendering the emotion and the feeling of it, and I find that is very helpful, because I think it's the reaction that was getting me into trouble. It was the follow through. So I immediately surrender whatever I'm feeling, and whether it's shame or anger or frustration or anything that can move me to a place of not exactly acting in my own best interests, and I would say in an act of fear, because that's kind of what it is, really, at its core. And I think it's been really good, because I get to ask the questions of like, what does love look like in this situation? Like how, because I think love transforms in many different ways, right? And I think it shows up in, depending on the situation, it shows up in very different ways. So I try and look for that, especially when it's in situations where it may be hard to act in love, because I feel like that's where I kind of I've found has been really beneficial, to where I I don't get tempted as much. I don't feel stressed as much. All those kind of triggers that are almost non-existent. But it just helps me deal with the day-to-day things, especially, you like today I've been going since like 7:30 this morning. It's like 7:40 now. So it's just like, where is there a time to take a break? Not many time. Like that's just kind of what life is now. So it's very seasonal. But I try and be very intentional with, even when I'm busy, or even when who I'm around a lot, or what I watch, or even what I listen to. Like I've just been very mindful of those things, of just filling my mind and everything I am in my day to day with a lot more joy and fun and love. And I think that's been helpful in, I try and tell myself, it was funny because I did get in a bit frustrated at this one particular situation. And I remember God's like, don't sweat the small stuff. And I was like, okay. And so now I tell myself that, like, don't sweat the small stuff. But then the child, like 2-year-old in me is like, what's the small stuff? Like, I want to know, like, so what's small and what's like a big deal? You know what I mean? And most things aren't a big deal. We just kind of like make them these big things. So it's just kind of like understanding where I need to place things. And I think that's what's been really helpful to me. And also just being around people that are also building things and are wanting to be successful in things and have the same mindsets and the same work ethics. I find that that's very helpful, because I think it keeps me in the space of focusing on the right things, and I think now too, working with a lot of different artists, I'm not thinking about myself a lot. I'm thinking about them and really listening to them and listening to what they're wanting to achieve, and even like their own limiting belief. It's really interesting because I was like, a lot of, I think Mike, you touched on it anyway. A lot of the skills that we learn are very transferable in any situation. So it's not like we're doing AA meetings, but it almost could be sometimes.
Well, practicing these principles in all of our affairs.
And just like how quickly a conversation can get vulnerable too. And we're just meeting up to talk strategy, and suddenly it's like this like vulnerable conversation where I'm like, this is like, I find so much joy in that, because I think I found a lot more purpose in what I'm doing now. So that really helps, along with all those other things I said. So that's kind of my day today.
And we were just talking about it. Was that last week, Mike, about helping other people that we were talking about?
Oh, yeah. Right. I mean, it's again, AA math, man. It doesn't fucking add up. How does making other people's lives better make my life better? That doesn't work. But it does. Yeah. It works every time. It doesn't make any damn sense, but it works every time.
Yeah. I think because it's just, I think we have to have purpose, and and the first session that I have with an artist is, a lot of it is like, we have to build the foundation of everything. So a lot of it is like, we ask the existential questions, like, why are you doing this? And, and in that, it's like, okay, if you were to zoom out and have this vision of your why, and in your mind's eye, you're kind of being like, this is why I'm doing it. And it's always something like that's far in the future. And is that something, when you're thinking about it, is that something that can still work effectively and efficiently even long after you're not here? So it's like building things now that are outside of yourself that still have this impact. And it's just something in that like, helps you actually discover more about who you are. And I think that's why we need that purpose, because everything gets placed where it needs to be placed, if that makes sense. Like the validation gets placed where it should be. We have more compassion for people, and we have more grace for things. Like just every element of who we are, like what makes up a person, and we're very complex, but like every kind of layer gets placed where it should be. And I think purpose is that very like driving force. And like intention is a very overused word, but all it really means is you're just taking a second to think about, why am I about to do this
thing that I'm about to do?
Yeah, right. and it could be so small as like, I'm gonna watch my words, or it could be a big move, you know, like should I move country, or like what's my intention for that? What do I intend to do? And I think just learning that as a habit is a game changer for life, like anyway. But it also, like, it does double back to what we learn. What helps us stay sober is that accountability and that transparency.
Absolutely.
Like those, if you're not holding yourself accountable or are being transparent, it's kind of like you're just going to fall back into old habits,
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. If your intentions are pure, then the work's going to come out right. And that's right. But you're trying to hide things and be shady and cut corners, and that shit never works.
Yeah. And it's, I think,
you get a shoddy product.
Yeah. And I think too, it's funny, like the comparisons. I think why we are led down these paths is because we don't want to spend time to think about things. We just want things instantly. Like, I don't want to feel this pain. Like I don't want to think about this, or I just need to escape, or I just want the end result. And I think
absolutely. I want the end result, and I don't want to put any work into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine that.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's not reality. Like, you can make it your reality, but you're not going to be as effective.
I have made it my reality.
Exactly.
Didn't work out very well.
Exactly. So it's just kind of like, take it from us. It's like, you can listen to us, or you can just, But I mean, that too, it's like everyone's journey to whatever they need to discover, or however they need to, whatever they need to figure out, they're going to learn it at their own pace. And I think that's, I respect people that are sober in terms of knowing what you know and what you do daily. And you may not talk about it all the time, or everyone has different ways of doing it. But even a lot of the like battles that you face, a lot of the checking in that you do, I think it's hard to stay. It's almost harder to stay humble or have compassion for people, because it's kind of like, I can see how you could get easily overwhelmed and frustrated by people that are like maybe not addicts, but are just like
assholes.
Like, assholes, yeah. Like they're just kind of they're just like a bunch of dickheads, or like so it's like, what's their fucking excuse? But I think that's their addiction, right? It's like everyone has to sober up from something, whether it's a substance or whatever it is.
Exactly. And that all comes back down to what we started with, trying to control other people and accepting things as they are, and realizing that the only thing we can control is ourselves and our reactions to it.
Yes.
But you know what? And actually, let's take a quick break right now, because we obviously want to get into, what you're doing now in a little bit more detail. Obviously, Breeze, about what you're doing now. But what do you think, Mike? Time for a quick one?
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned for more of this wonderful conversation right after these words from our sponsors.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi there.
Yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So we wanted two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. So, but from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, at least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And once again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone, welcome back. And so all the things that you've been leading up to, and I seriously, it's like I didn't want to interrupt because I'm just kind of taking all these things in, and it's so well. What's kind of funny to me, and I don't mean funny in like a ha-ha type of way, but what we've talked about a couple of times already is what you're talking about so far from what it sounds like, and we're going to hear more here in a second, but what you're doing in your work mirrors what we, and I say quote unquote, we do in sobriety, which is so cool because, I mean, Mike and I talk about this all the time, again, practicing these principles in all our affairs. Mike said that a minute ago or a few minutes ago. And, being able to, like you said, having these vulnerable conversations with people. And even though you're not in a meeting, I recognize that quite a bit with conversations. If I'm in a deep conversation with somebody, I have to step back a minute and say, okay, sometimes I realize that I'm like, I got some skills here that I need to use, or I need to calm down, or I need to back off, or I need to literally practice these things I've learned. But I mean, man, this whole sobriety thing that we go through, we all do all this work for, especially early on, that ends up having, just these, it translates into everything.
Yeah.
Makes life so much easier, right?
I wouldn't say easier. I think because it isn't. It almost it's almost like the more you know, like that saying, like ignorance is bliss. Like I think
well, that's a good point.
Yeah. there is a part of like when I was wrapped up in my bullshit that I could use that excuse, like I was doing the best of with what I knew, whereas now it's like I know better. It's almost worse.
It is. It is. There's a spotlight on us, and we talk about that too. It's the just because we may be the only vision of a sober person that somebody sees. So inside, I mean, outside of the rooms or outside of a meeting or outside of a sober gathering is probably more important than inside the rooms, right, Mike? It's easier to act. How do you say that? Act good between this and that, but then between whatever.
Right. It's not what you do between the sobriety, not sobriety.
Serenity.
Jesus Christ, thank you. It's been a long day for me too. It's not what you do between the Serenity Prayer and the Our Father. It's what you do between the Our Father and the Serenity Prayer. Yeah. Right.
That's what you do out there in life.
That hour in the church basement's fucking easy. Yeah.
Oh,
it's the rest of the time.
You're with like-minded people where you're like,
exactly.
Sometimes like worse than you, so you feel a little better. Like, at least I didn't do that. So
now they be careful, no comparing. That's dangerous shit there.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. But so obviously we know you got away from the actual band thing and the touring thing and the drumming part of it. Mm-hmm. So you're actually helping artists. So you're doing actually, and I know you've got. Is it a podcast itself or YouTube or a combination of both? Or I guess just tell us exactly what you're involved in now and what you're doing for people.
Yeah, so it's an artist development company. I guess that's what it would kind of be tied under. So artist development, it was kind of like it feels like this very underrated department that labels used to have, and basically it's like when they would sign an artist, they would then develop them and help them essentially.
Right.
Like even in like things like they would train them in media, like how to talk to the media, how to handle themselves in interviews. So I've kind of modernized it a little bit. I mean, artists still do need help talking in front of camera, even on podcasts, but just understanding that they are a brand and a business first. They're not just an artist. And because when you're just walking around acting like just an artist, that's when people can come along and exploit you. Whereas if you're understanding that you're actually a business and everything you do, the goal is I want to be profitable at some time, like every other business sits down with their plan. The conversations are different. The focus is different. Everything's more intentional. So it's just helping. That's at like the base of it, is helping artists understand their business owners, their CEOs, they're the boss, and they're responsible for their branding. And out from there, building out, what is your business plan? So what is your vision? What are the values that, are important to you? And then in that, I'm very big on how do we then build around your strengths to also keep the joy in what you're doing. Because I think like if you can at least balance your life the best way possible to have more joy than anything, I just feel like you're just a better human being anyway. But also when it does come to this industry, there's just a lot of different industries meshed into one place. So it's not just music, it's entertainment, it's content, it's branding, it's brand partnerships, it's TV, it's publication, it's all these sorts of things that are just meshed into one. So it's just helping an artist really understand the roles of the industry, who they're talking to, how to talk to these people, and at the same time knowing who they're talking to. So who are your audience and why are they your audience? And a lot of that comes out of the like self-discovery. You're the people who are going to resonate with you the most, most likely the people that look like you. It's like your vibe attracts your tribe. So it's funny because like a lot of the concepts came out of so like what I was learning in sobriety, like just like learning a lot of these different aspects of myself, understanding my uniqueness and how that's important. It's better for me and for others if I'm being my unique self and I'm accepting my unique self. In the music industry, it's very much like we're going to mold you into what already works. And I just think it's just like we're in a very different time now that it's time to do things differently. Like that, like that's kind of where it came from. The beginning of my sobriety, tell myself to do things differently. So it's like if I was met with, a temptation or just old habits were kind of coming about, it's like, okay, I'm going to do it different this time because that is the definition of insanity, is what we learn. And so it's just kind of, that's why I think I also named my company differently, because it's just this constant reminder of we're all different. at the core. Like we're all unique and we're all meant to be that way. And I think we don't have to be molded or fit into this formula in order to have something that is successful. Yes, like of course you want to make money off what you're doing, but really more importantly, have some kind of purpose to what we're doing, which I think if you can focus on the value first, the money always comes. I just think money is a resource. It's not like really anything that special. It's just like, I think that will naturally attract to you. But really artists need a plan. And my brain fucking loves working that way. Like it likes, it just likes to look at things and sees where it could be more efficient. And it's crazy. I've learned to like really love this part of myself, because it's interesting, because this was the part of me that was always told to dim down, like, you hear those recurring things that are told to you your whole life. It was funny how this was the one part that seemingly now what helps this business run is my brain. And so I'm finding joy in finally just personally being in a place where my environment now is the value in that. So if I can give that value, then artists can find their value, and it's just, Russian dolls for all day,
Right.
So yeah, a lot of it is doing a lot of my favorite things to talking, negotiating, like all of that planning, strategy. And what I love about it is every artist is so different in what they want. And I want to create environments where I encourage those parts and they can feel like those parts can be strengthened instead of led to feel like they can't be that because, the song won't get on radio or they won't be able to become established. And I just think that's bullshit. Like for a long time, it's being shown that that's not the only way because it's like YouTube's been around for a very long time, and we can see that as a very easy example of many different brands and many different niches building platforms and monetizing from it, So I just think it's about time that, at least in the music industry, we can kind of catch up,
Right.
And just already seeing, I'm working with like 11 different artists right now, already seeing dramatic changes with them in terms of just their focus and their mindset. I think a lot of it is just articulation. They can now articulate things that they were feeling, and they're becoming like little bosses. I'm just kind of feel like I just feel like so proud, because I'm just like, I feel like a proud mom sometimes, where I'm just like, fuck yeah, like you took initiative, like you're a boss and you're acting like a boss. I literally high-fived an artist the other week because I was like, now you're sounding like a fucking business owner, like and I'm like, that's good, because I explained to them, like, every other business, when they're entering into a discussion about partnerships, they know the numbers, like they know what they're worth, they know their value, they know even who's across the table. Like if a label ever went to if that situation was put in any other business meeting, like it would not happen. Like you wouldn't even make it past reception. Like it's not normal for a label to go to someone who's 15 years old, who has a viral song on TikTok, being like, let me sign your intellectual property away and we'll give you this cash advance that you have to pay back. But we haven't even really vetted anything. We haven't tested anything. We don't even know if the product's good or sustainable. So we're just going to drop you at your next single, because there is no other thought put to this than we're really fucking good at making money off of viral songs. And that's about it. And I just think it's like a total exploitation, especially when it's with people that are under the age of 18. I just think that's fucking weird. And I've always thought it's weird. Like,
do you think that you were always, because you mentioned like the seeing these things and putting these pieces together, and that was an area that was always dimmed. Do you think you always had that analytical side to you, be able to, I don't know, decipher these things? It sounds like you almost are trying to put together puzzles for people, which is kind of cool, but it's the analytical part. You're trying to pick apart these little pieces and put this puzzle together and say, okay, now here's where you can get better and grow. Do you think that was always in you, and being sober now has opened you up? Or
I think definitely being sober has definitely added a lot more clarity to it, but I've always been that way. Like, even when I was as an artist, I was doing all of these things, but I was doing it out of necessity, because who else was going to do it? You know?
Right.
And so when I took that artist label away and then understood it's not normal, these aren't normal skills, like it's a very specialized thing, like you have to kind of have a passion for it, and I love doing it. I think that's why I was feeling that tension of I feel like I've seen something I can't unsee now. Like, so much of me now makes sense when I'm not just, touring or being a drummer or a producer or whatever it is, like an artist. All of this whole other side to me now felt like it actually had a place in my life. Whereas before that, it was like, I'm an artist. I shouldn't enjoy the music business. Like, I shouldn't enjoy negotiating or understanding contracts or understanding strategy or all of this stuff that I love doing. And not just in the music industry. My brain has always been like that. It's just loves being a problem solver, and it sometimes can be to my detriment, because then I can try and fix things, and some things don't need to be fixed. So I'm learning how to like be mature in it.
But the cool part though is that, I mean, when you're helping these artists, you have the ability to say, okay, I was doing all these things. I've been there. I'm an artist. I've been behind the kit. I've been in the band. I was doing these things, like you said, out of necessity. I can show you a way. It's kind of like, again, like Mike said before, these things that we learn about helping other alcoholics. I mean, I don't mind hanging out with somebody, that's, 2, 3 years sober. I think I can learn a lot from somebody in that 1 to 3 year period, because people have more fire in them at that than, I'll be quite honest, than I do at 14 and a half years.
Right.
I've got this thing down. I've got this routine down. I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I know what works. And I thankfully haven't had to figure out in too bad of ways what doesn't work. Right. But, the thing of it is, though, is if I really want to learn something about long-term sobriety, I'm going to go talk to somebody who's been sober for 20 years, but has good sobriety, not just, 20 years under their belt. I want them to be happy and accomplished and those sort of things. It's the same deal. Now you come to these artists with this whole thing. I've got this, I've been doing this since I was 12. I've been through all this different stuff. This is my passion, but these are the things I've learned. Have you been I mean, do you think that's got to be a huge advantage, right?
Yeah, because I think it helps them understand. It's kind of like when you run into someone else and you both find out you're sober, like you just instantly know, like, okay, cool. We don't have to say much, but we know,
Right.
You just instantly feel comfortable. And I think that's definitely a huge advantage, because I can say like, hey, and I can pick it up as well. I can pick up the limiting belief, that they might not be aware of, but I'm like, it's sticking out like a sore thumb, because it's like, I had these same limiting beliefs, and mixed with my personality, I think I can get to the problem a lot quicker. And in a way, there's a more of a respect there, because I'm not just some industry person that's never been in their position. Like, I can say I've played to literally no one in the middle of nowhere, but then I've played to, 65,000 people in in some of the biggest places in Australia. So I've done where they're at, but I've also done where they're wanting to be, or at least in their mind's eye, they'd love to achieve one day. So I think there is that element of a trust there, whereas it's different to some guy in a suit that's like was probably bullied in high school and isn't exactly a shot caller in the industry, but wants to present himself as someone who can call the shots. And they're usually the ones that exploit the artists. So they're the ones that you could sniff them out from a mile away. It's just kind of like, okay.
So you mentioned like the YouTubes and the viral stuff and all those sort of things. And I listen to a ton of podcasts. I mean, everything from, sober podcast, musicians, I can talk, musicians to, actors and all those sort of things, and comedians too. Mike and I listen to Mark Maron all the time. And, like one of the big things that people are talking now about, like comedians, for instance, I'm guessing it's the same thing with some of these viral musical artists, is that, anyone can pick up, decent camera, have a computer, and they can do their routine, their comedy routine, and release it. And there's a couple, I can't think of the guy. He just had a Netflix special. The guy's huge. He blew up. He's a comedian. He's in his 20s, late 20s, I think.
Matt Rife?
There you go, Matt Rife.
Yeah.
That dude, I'm like, he's funny-ish, and whatever. I mean, he's definitely honed his craft and done the work. But literally in 2 years, he went from nothing to he's worth like, I don't know, $10 million now or something like that. And it was all because of YouTube and TikTok and all those sort of things. And a couple of these things went viral, and he got his break. So is that what you're talking about? You're seeing people, or these record labels are seeing people, and they see a video viral and they just want to sign somebody, squeeze the shit out of them, set them aside?
Pretty much. It'd be like, TikTok's very known for it. And there's like literally people, their job at labels is to look for viral songs on TikTok.
I guess that doesn't surprise me.
because they don't want the artists, they want the master recording. They want to own the song, the composition, right. Because that's how they make their money. And then they just run it through their system, and they can make massive and massive amounts of money from owning a viral song because it's got the attention. So labels are really good at doing that. It's just, is it ethical? I don't know. Because a lot of them are young, that they don't know anything about business. Their parents don't know anything about business. Are they even worth really what the song can be worth? No. Do they have any money management skills, a team around them? The established lifestyle that they're about to be, brought into in terms of the massive amount of touring they have to do, the pressure that comes with that. Because what artists don't understand is you are joining multi-million-dollar corporations. It's now you're responsible for that. And I remember when we did our arena stint, I had that thought. I was like, oh shit, if we don't do a good job, these are not just, your friends down the street or just some small business owner. These are massive businesses that you're fucking up in front of. And so it's there is a lot of that aspect to it of do you even have are you show ready? Are you ready for that? And, labels used to help artists get ready for that. Because when you're playing in front of a lot of people, and just even the lifestyle of being out on the road, it's not a very healthy lifestyle. It's not healthy to stand out on stage and have 10,000 people screaming at you that how much they love you, and how that's not a normal thing for a human. So it's just kind of you have to be mature. You have to be at least have a bit of self-esteem, and also have really good people around you to support you, because
you'll fucking believe it.
Yeah, because literally,
otherwise,
because those things are vanity. It's very fleeting, and also the just chemically what that does to your brain. Like there was a lot of articles written on it about like how depression is like a huge thing amongst the even like the managers, but a lot of touring musicians, like they have a lot of depression just because it's like this high hit and then a very then you come off tour and you can't get that hit anymore. It's honestly it's a drug, like really. Right. So
what do you do with those other 23 hours?
Right. And so if you don't have good people around you or someone that you can talk about these things with, you're going to align your worth with external validation.
That 1 hour. Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know what people are telling you. Yeah. The vanity.
Yeah. It's not real. I mean, it isn't real. It's real to the point that it's happening at that moment, but it's not real. Those people do not love you. You know, they may enjoy what you're doing and they're having a good time
if you say something
and whatever.
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the fact of the matter is they don't love you. Not really. And if you don't have people that actually do love you, then you're fucked. Yeah. I've seen it plenty of times myself. Right.
Yep. Yeah. I was going to say, you had that, and I don't know, I think we talked about that briefly a little bit in the last time we talked to you, Breeze, but I mean, Mike had his stint in the music biz right back in the 80s. I mean, is it some of this stuff kind of coming back to you now? Or?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, it's making me remember why I walked the fuck away from it, because it was horrible. You know, and it was getting in the way of me getting loaded, but I also, it's fucking awful. The buying and selling of art is a fucking miserable business on any level. I mean, I was married to a fashion model, so I saw that side of it too. Yes, it's all the buying and selling of art, and it's very, very painful to the artist. Yeah, it's hard, and if you don't have a certain whatever, like I said, those really good people around you to support you and keep and also keep you grounded, you're fucked.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like what I'm big on is like, what are you placing your value in? It's like, don't place your value in the metrics of everything. That's a tool to understand, again, like how other businesses, if it's a good business, they'll have someone come in and analyze all their data, being like, where are we doing really well and where can we save a bit of money, and it's like that's the way you have to look at it. It's absolutely. Like you have these departments, and over a certain period of time go back and look at these things as how can you understand the way your business is maneuvering. Are you doing really well on merch? Well, does that mean you invest more money in marketing that because you can make a bit more
right.
Thinking it strategically,
right. And it's really hard to separate because again, artist, right? You're creating art, and that's very emotional and very personal, and but then you're trying to sell that very emotional, personal thing. And that's fucking hard to separate, man.
Yeah. And that's why it's like trying to understand where's the artist brain and where do we leave the artist brain, and then who is right in front of me right now? Like who do I need to play? Like what role do I need to play right now? And that's why I say, like, you're a business owner. You're not an artist. Like that is a part of you. And if you can build this to a certain level to where you can hire other people to handle more of the business stuff, so you can spend more of your time doing what you enjoy doing. But even then, you're still responsible for this thing. So it is possible because it's already being done. When you look at it at like the established music industry side, there's still that. It's just a lot of changing the ideologies around, which is like,
and there's also, I mean, I've got friends that are just solid working musicians. I mean, it's their fucking job, man. They go out and they play the music and then they live their lives.
Exactly.
Those are the really successful ones. Buddy of mine that I kind of started out with. I mean, he's, he goes out and tours with established bands. He's a bass player. And I mean, at the moment he's building a house in Costa Rica, and,
I love that.
Right. I mean, but I mean, he's pretty anonymous. He goes out on, with shit, mostly at this point is like 80s hair bands and stuff. He just goes out and works for them, and that's what he does. And he's got a really fucking good life doing it. But that's not, he's not an artist anymore. He goes out and he puts the notes where they need to be, and he builds a little wall of sound, and then he goes home. Yeah.
And that's it. It's like, I think allowing an artist to sit there and think about, like, what is it that I actually want to do? Right. I think a lot of it is, I just want to live a simple life where I can just enjoy what I'm doing. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, let's build around that, because that is so possible.
Yeah, it is. Yes, you can just and not be famous and blah, 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 blah. Just fucking work, and you work hard, and you make fucking really good living, and then by the time you hit 65, you fucking retire and nobody hears from you again. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, that once again, we've talked about it on here, that I don't know if you know this, but Mike and I are a couple of years older than you, just a couple. like a lot, a couple of years, but 22, 25, what are you, 32? Yeah. 25 and 23 years. Okay, so we're a couple of years older than you.
Nice.
But up until I would say easily, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I was still on that, I want to be this, and I want to do this, and I want to grow kind of in that. I didn't want to be in like a big company, corporate America type of thing, but I was still in that mode. I'm going to make my mark, and I'm going to do this. And it was about position and title. And finally, I don't know, probably a handful of years ago, I decided, I'm like, you know what? Fuck every bit of that. I mean, literally, I'm done. I don't want to be any of that anymore. The job I'm at now, which I've been there for, I don't know, 7 months, 8 months, whatever it's been now. I went back from, and I've done a lot of things. I've never made, millions. I've made decent livings and done all that stuff. I've been management positions and supervisors and trainers, and I've been known in different groups and all those different things. And you know what? At times it made me happy, but I was done with it. I don't want to manage people. I don't want to deal with fucking people anymore. I don't want to have all that responsibility anymore. I'm too fucking old and tired. Don't want to have to do any of that shit anymore. So I took a job as a collector. I work for a law firm. It's remote. No residency restrictions. I can make a ton of money on commission once I get all that built up. And all I got to do is every fucking day I clock in at 8 o'clock. I take 2 15-minute breaks throughout the day. I take a half-hour lunch from Monday through Thursday, then an hour lunch on Friday, and I'm out at 3 o'clock on Friday. Done. And I can go live my life.
Yep.
And I'm fine with that. And kind of like Mike said, it reminded me of that again, because we talk about it every once in a while. But when you're talking about the bassist, all he does is he goes out, puts the notes in the right thing. That's all I do. I get on the phone. I hit the statistics that I have to, which pays me a certain amount of money, and I do the work, and I make a little bit more money and that sort of thing. And I'm just fine. I don't want to be anything anymore, but just I want to work so I can go out and experience shit. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. You want to enjoy your life.
Yeah. I mean, I don't give a fuck anymore. If somebody, and literally, if I don't try to dress up, what I do. If somebody asks what I do, I'm a bill collector. That's exactly what I do. People are like, well, what kind of bills do you collect? I mean, yeah, I work for a law firm, and we collect, for businesses, for insurance stuff. It's a couple of steps ahead of collecting from the single mom for her medical bill. Okay. But it's still a goddamn bill collector. The guy who picks up your trash at the end of the driveway every week, he's a fucking garbage collector. I don't care what he calls himself. They make a lot of money too, and I'm not poo-pooing a garbage collector, but this sanitation engineer fucking bullshit and all these titles that they put on people, fuck you, you're a garbage collector. Pick up your garbage, make the money that I know you make a lot of money doing it, enjoy yourself, and go fucking home and have fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just doesn't matter, Yeah. But so let me ask you this. So somebody comes to you and they're like, man, I don't want to deal with all this business stuff. I would just want to learn how to grow. I want to be big. I want to do this. If somebody has these, and I wouldn't even say unrealistic, but somebody has these expectations and they don't want to deal with all the business part of it. I don't know. What would you say to a person like that?
If they don't want to handle, I probably ask them just more questions, being like, well, I want to understand when you're saying business stuff, like, what do you meaning by it, because if it could be they don't want to handle like being their own manager, or they don't want to like do the bookings, or they don't want to whatever it is, I think I would want to understand where they're coming from with that. But if they were coming from a place where they're just like, I just want all the results with no work, I just want to post my song once and it goes viral, I would probably be like, you may need to realign why you're doing this, because that isn't going to, I just like in my mind scream like, oh, you're an addict.
Right.
Well, and so here's the thing. That's why I asked that question. I was trying to, because all these things you're saying keep bringing me back to the sobriety shit. So it was making me think of somebody walking in saying, tell me how to get sober. I don't want to do this stuff. Just tell me how to get sober.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I mean, first of all, the pause. The reason I laughed is because you paused, because I know you were thinking, trying to figure out the right way how you would actually approach this person by saying, "You're a fucking idiot. This is going to happen that way."
Yes.
But then saying, "Yeah, I think you need to reassess and realign." That's what made me laugh. No, that was great. That's the reason I asked that question. It just all of this reminds me of. Again, of somebody getting in and trying to get sober, and us trying to teach them that, and it makes me smile, the fact that you're able to, the work that you're doing lines up. I don't know, to me, almost mirrors this whole sobriety thing. It's just kind of cool.
Really does. Yeah, every day I'm like, oh, I could probably give them the fourth step or something. Like I could probably be like, let's take inventory like of this, and because I just think like a lot of that are great principles for life anyway. And I think, people that, we've been through it, we understand that. It's just, I think for all of this, for me to be effective in it, I have to be very curious about the way people are coming to some kind of like understanding on something. You know what? Even if I already know this is a little bit silly, the way that you are aligning this thought with, like, that's not realistic, or it's not, there's no real purpose to it. I never want to come across as like closed off to somebody if they were like, I just want to be famous, and be like, well, actually, yeah, there is a strategy to do that, but are you going to be happy? Are you going to be effective? Are you going to be a good person? Are you going to have purpose in your life? Are you going to be, your quality of life is going to be low. And I think majority of people don't want fame. They want a good quality of life, and I think it's just, I think it's probably the main reason why labels got rid of artist development, because it is a process. It's like the word development, like the things need to take time to marinate, and sometimes it might be a concept needs to take time. They don't want they want fast fashion, So why I like what I'm doing is because it's like, I'll take all the time in the world with someone who's really willing to get better at something, whether it's they do want to sober up, or they do just want to be better at being an artist, because at the core of every artist is they want to impact the world in a positive way. Like, you could see it all the time. Like, I just want people to be happy. That's just a very shallow way of saying I want to give something that is positive and impactful, so it's just helping them understand in deeper ways what they're actually saying. And honestly, that's like what I feel like I've discovered my life purpose in, because I love deep conversations. I love thinking about things and overthinking. I wouldn't even say an overthinking is the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, I like to dive further than the deep, Yeah.
Actually thinking.
Yes.
Not just having a thought.
Yeah. And just really understanding. Like, I mean, my first 6 months of sobriety, I was sitting under a tree thinking about everything and talking to God about it. Like, I think it's like I reached that level of crazy, which I think I might add in to my development. I might be like, hey,
Absolutely.
your first 6 months, you're going to go isolate, go sit under a tree and just think about all the things you've done and, have this spiritual awakening. But I find just a lot of value in that. And I'm honestly just like very happy with where I'm at. As I took a moment the other day to just kind of like let myself know how proud I am of myself, because I remember being in a place where I just did not see what my purpose was and why I was even here. Like, I was like, my family fucking hates me. Like, and they say they love me, but they're just not treating me like they love me. Like, I was, you're doing the whole blame game and the victim thing, but that's the mentality I was in, So to now be on the other side of that, and now I feel like I've really aligned with this chapter that I'm in. This is what I'm meant to be doing, type of thing. I took a moment to say, like, you're Breezy, like, you're doing a fucking awesome job. Like, now, even in your sobriety, you can say the impossible can be made possible, And I actually have told someone that, because they were like, oh, it's just too hard. I'm like, hey, I'm an alcoholic and I don't drink. So how hard is something really?
So fuck you.
Yeah. So like, really. how hard is something? And like, people who aren't drinkers are like, oh, geez, like, So I think it's just like helping people understand, like, yes, the impossible is actually really you just breaking out of whatever that limiting belief is, and then understanding you are so much more capable of what you are limiting yourself with. And that's kind of all it is at the end of the day.
It is.
Yeah.
So do you, I guess last question has just kind of occurred to me. Do you find that you've got a lot of, in the fact that the labels aren't doing this anymore, and you are, which I think is amazing. Do you find that you have a lot of competition, or is there a lot of competition out there, people doing what you do now?
There are people that do artist development. I think where I'm different is, I think a lot of it is rooted in personal development first, because I just think if you don't have your mind right, then everything else just will at some point crumble. Like, you could have a really good content strategy or a really great song, and you might have the best marketing ever, but still at the end of the day, why are you doing it? And where are you attaching your value? Because even with the best of the best, the people decide if they like something or not, and that's something you can't control. So I have also arrived at a place where I don't think competition is a real thing. I think because we're so uniquely made, really refining what that uniqueness is and accepting it to a point where you actually compliment people. So I've really switched out a lot of words to, I'm not in competition with anyone, I compliment people. So I think, because like there's no one else like me. They can take the concepts, but they're not going to present it the same way. Which I think just relieves so much fucking stress. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, no, and I think that's that's an amazing way to look at it, because I mean, really what it comes down to is that if, I suppose with anything, if you're looking at somebody or something or another company or whatever it is as a competitor, then they're comparing yourselves, and you're worrying about what are they doing versus what can I do, blah, 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 versus just doing your own thing and being, fuck it, nobody's doing it like me anyhow, regardless of if they're doing somewhere along the same lines. I'm me and I'm doing it this way, so fuck everyone else,
Yeah, I think there's an element of that, and I think like there's a healthy competition. So I do look at, like I was saying before, I like to surround myself with people that are doing things that I haven't accomplished yet, because that motivates me. So it's kind of like, if I see someone's posted something about their business, or they've got like 4 new clients this week, I'm like, okay, I'm going to outdo you. Like, oh, you're up early posting about this. Okay, I'm going to get up early and post about this. So it's just kind of like a healthy competition. It's not looking at it in a way of like, oh, I'm jealous because you make more money than me, or you're saying the same things as me and you're seemingly, you know, got more influence. I kind of see that as like, oh, that's what's possible.
Right.
And so it's just, I think that just comes along with the more life you live. And there is an element of like, no expectations is really a nice way of saying I really don't give a fuck at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of words we live by sometimes,
Yeah.
right, Mike?
Yeah.
So, and I looked up your websites, obviously, as we were talking here. So,
I think it cut out for a second.
differentlynetwork.com, correct?
Yeah, he's done that once or twice.
Okay.
What?
He's
there he is.
Oh, there
He's
you go.
back.
Oh, did I cut out?
Yeah, just
You sure did.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's kind of weird. Okay, so I was still here as far as I knew, but
Yeah. Anyways, so you looked up her websites and.
No, I was just and I'm looking at it here. So I'm gonna have same thing as I did on the promo. I'll have your Instagram link in there, but I see your Instagram is on your website anyhow. But all people have to do is, if you're listening to this episode now, look in the episode description. I have a link to Breeze's website. Okay.
Yes.
And then get people to your website. It looks like, as I'm looking at it, it's got everything. It's got about you, artist and development application, the podcast, the network, Instagram, Facebook, email, or not Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and email. So visit that, but also obviously we follow Breeze on Instagram. She follows us, I think. No, I don't.
No, yeah, I totally follow you guys.
I know you do. I'm just fucking with you. But yeah, so the last thing I want to say besides thank you, because I mean this has been cool. We talked. God, I don't think we talked this much about music with anyone, right, Mike? I mean,
no.
It was cool. It was so, to me, I mean, almost relaxing to sit here and talk about something, I don't know, different like that, but also knowing the parallels that what you are doing to sobriety was fucking blowing my mind.
Right,
which is
it's
also
so
cool.
nuts. It's every
You're
day.
basically
I'm like,
sponsoring other. You're
Literally.
basically sponsoring other musicians, right?
That's what it feels like. I can make my own 12 steps and everything. I can make my own big book.
It's so funny because we couldn't have sat down and planned out and said, okay, we're gonna make this episode. You're gonna talk all about music, Breeze. We're gonna make all this sound like sobriety and make it sound really good. It fucking blew my mind that it did. But so that's number one. But also, and I know this comes from both of us. If there's anything we can do to help promote you, post about you, whatever you need. If you need our help, our podcast is not, the biggest in the world or huge or has a big reach or anything like that. But if there's anything we can do to help you with what you're doing, just let us know. Okay.
Oh, I appreciate that. And likewise, if there's any, I mean, if you want any of the artists I'm working with, I mean, they're not sober, but if you wanted more musicians on the podcast, maybe. Yeah,
you know what?
They can totally come on.
The thing
we'll wait
here,
till they get sober.
Right.
Yeah.
They can they definitely need to be sober in other things, for sure. No, I work with really, really good artists. Otherwise, I wouldn't work with them.
No, and this is what we tell. We say this openly on here all the time. If anyone wants to be on the podcast, send us an email, approach us. We'll take a look at it, but don't be offended if we say no, because we're not just because somebody's referred to us by our friend Breeze, for instance, doesn't mean you're going to end up on here. Because we've said no to people because we don't think that either we would do people justice or we don't think that it would blend well with what we're trying to do. Yeah. If it goes against our values or what, like for instance, we were approached by how many of the non-alcoholic drink companies, Mike, to begin with?
Several. Yeah.
And then some other ones who like these meditation apps and whatever. All these things, fine. I know the NA market. Neither one of us have anything wrong with it. We're just not NA people. Nothing wrong with meditation apps and all that shit. It's just, if we looked at something like, we wouldn't use that. We wouldn't drink NA beer. We wouldn't use a meditation app. If we don't line up with somebody, we're just not going to have them on because it would just be an uncomfortable conversation because it just, I don't know. We've thankfully never.
It wouldn't be honest.
Right. And the thing of it is, we don't have any ability to be fake anymore. We're too old for that shit, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
But seriously, no, anything we can do. And like I said, I'll have, and I do have, people who are listening to this, obviously the links are in the description. So visit Breeze's website, follow her on Instagram. And man, I mean, seriously, this has been a fucking hell of a lot of fun in my mind.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me back on, because this has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah. So, all right, so Breeze, it's time for you and I to be quiet. You know what's coming up from Mike now.
Here we go.
He's got a new little thing too. So
do I have to make a new song?
No, it's it's a short one, but you tell us.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. Thank you, Breeze, for coming on and hanging out with us for a while. It's been fun. And now it is time. It's time for the stuff. So, from the bottom of my heart to the depths of my soul, from the beginning of time to the ends of the earth, always and eternally, fuck you. And now it is time. It is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.
Yeah, that new little thing our friend G gave sent that to us sent it to Mike on Facebook. So how long has that been? A couple of months now that you've been reading it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and we're so fucking superstitious. He added it to it. He can't take it away now. He's stuck with it forever. So
just like the shit I do for sobriety, man. I can add stuff, but I can't take it away. So once it's in there, it's in there.
Exactly. So all right. Well, again, I can't thank you enough, man. I've enjoyed this a lot, and I think everyone else will too. So, Mike, I love you, brother.
Love you too.
And I know that hopefully all of us will talk soon, I believe, right?
Absolutely. I'll see your dumb ass tomorrow.
Yeah, that is true. I'm going to be in Cleveland tomorrow. So, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.